my skin so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. My name is Craigers. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. Don't get upset that I'm a Vikings fan. I love the Bay Area. I used to live there. San Francisco is my favorite American city. I know it's going through some tough times with some issues, but that's okay. Beautiful city. I live there. Niners are the best team in the NFC. The Vikings beat them. We bring in my friend, Minnesota sports fanatic, Timberwolves expert, Kyle Theige. How would you like to be introduced, sir? Are you a media personality in Minnesota? What are you? Besides clever and fun and positive.
Just your friend is good enough for me. But yeah, diehard Vikings fan. The Vikings are undefeated. The Lynx are rolling. The Twins are playing baseball, I guess, still. And the Timberwolves are 2 weeks away from Media Day. So it's a really good time to be a Minnesota sports fan. And all the teams right now are kind of trending in the right direction.
And you grew up in the Dakotas, correct?
Yes, North Dakota. Went to the same school as Phil Jackson, University of North Dakota.
Yeah.
And then moved out west so I could be closer to you and on the best sports time zone, because the West Coast, I think, for football, basketball, whatever, is the best time zone.
So you're a Vikings fan and a Timberwolves fan mainly. Yep. Those are the two big ones. And you're up in, I think, the Oregon area.
That is correct, yes.
But you appear on Flagrant Howls with Phil Mackey.
Yep.
Which is a Timberwolves podcast, and also the very popular Dane Moore Timberwolves podcast.
Probably too much of me, Craig, but a lot of content. And as these teams get better, especially the Timberwolves, it's kind of fun to have different angles and different areas to talk about the team, including this podcast. So yeah, we're cooking right now. The Vikings are great. And then before you know it, we're going to be talking a lot about Rob Dillingham again. I knew you'd be excited about it. So,
oh my God, I do have. We're going to talk about the Vikings' big win, but I am so curious to see how good this guy is, or average. But I think he's going to be above average. I need him to be better than Dennis Schroeder. I need him to be better than Nick Van Exel.
Deal.
So anywho, so going into yesterday's game, I have so much respect for Kyle Shanahan and the Niners. 2 years ago, we lost a playoff game at home to the Giants, and you should never, ever lose a home playoff game. But there was a part of me that was relieved because we would have gone out to the Niners and gotten killed, destroyed. Mm-hmm. But you shouldn't lose at home, and we don't lose at home against the Niners since 1992. They haven't won a regular season game. So going into yesterday's game, what were you thinking?
I mean, that week one win against the Giants, you kind of figured out, wow, the Vikings are maybe a little better than we thought, but maybe the Giants are a little worse than we thought. So you didn't really know. It's always tough with, one game sample size. And like you said, I still think this, the 49ers are still the class of the NFC. They're kind of a Super Bowl or bust team. So they're not probably super worried about September performances. They want to focus on January. But still, that's the class of the NFC. And to bring them into your house, and I'm sure we'll talk about specific moments in the whole game, but they kind of beat the 49ers, the Vikings did, by playing 49er football.
Yeah.
I mean, they ran it down their throats. They played really good defense. They got after Purdy. And then Sam Darnold, who is not even really quarterback one. I mean, if you believe all the hype in the preseason, it was supposed to be J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy teams haven't lost a football game since New Year's Eve 2022. So I just think for Sam to hit some of those throws and for everyone to believe in KOC's philosophy, it's a really exciting time. And now you look ahead to the Texans and stuff. The Vikings can probably beat anyone, especially at home.
It's a great point. I don't know if you know this. I sometimes whine about the schedule. The Bears have the third easiest schedule. We were both 7-10 last year, and then we got to fly to Seattle again. And I mean, there were people that said prior to the season, if they lose at the Giants, they could start 0-7.
Yep. They could be the
because we're not favored in these games. And I'm always like, I look at things. Can we play with the best teams? So last year, we had a rough year because of these intangibles, these silly ass fumbles in the first few games. And I see how we play. And there's so many things to unpack. But my attitude is I love B-Flow, Brian Flores, and I love KOC, Kevin O'Connell, and I know we have talent. And the past few years, like when we had Zim before the defense went south, I had a problem with the offensive line, and I didn't want to be competitive with the team and then have our kicker blow it. Right. So now I think we have a kicker, the rookie, and we have a good offensive line. Now, I have a problem with Ed Ingram sometimes. Blake Brandel had a couple offsides motion yesterday, which is irritating. I'm a perfectionist. But we can play with everybody. So I'm saying we're at home. Short week for the Niners. I just want to see how we play. And, man, did we play well. Huge victory. And I'm kind of with you now. Okay, I think we can play with everybody. I'll give you an example as I jump all over the place because I'm so fired up. Scheduled loss in a few weeks at Thursday night at the Rams. Bothersome game. That bothers Craigers. Anyway, so yesterday I'm thinking, let's see how we do. And then we start off intangibles. Those are turnovers. And then there's a blocked punt by CJ Ham. You forget that he's on special teams, don't you, Kyle? CJ Ham, fullback.
I'm glad we still have a fullback as more teams get away from it. But yeah, CJ Ham with a great play. And then too, I mean, you said turnovers, so I want to bring this up now, but they win the Vikings 23-17 against the Niners. And that includes a red zone interception that Darnold throws. Right, that was a awesome play by Fred Warner. Like maybe it was a bad throw, but that was probably just better defense. Kind of an NBA term, better defense and better offense. And then they fumble at the 1 yard line, right, with Aaron Jones. So to still win and also probably cough up anywhere from 6 to 14 points. Yeah. They really, we're gonna go back and forth here. Vikings, Timberwolves, Vikings. The Vikings have an identity. Like again, that 49ers philosophy. They want to run the ball. Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler are an awesome duo. And then, late in I think it was 7:35 left in the fourth quarter, 3rd and long, they kind of continue the drive. And Darnold just throws a rope for like 30 yards, I think, to Naylor. Right. And there's no Justin Jefferson out there. There's no Hawkinson. There's no Addison. Like, he didn't have all his ingredients, and he's still cooking out there.
I want a side note. I want you to go into settings and make sure you're on StreamYard. Your microphone is selected, right? It's not your laptop microphone.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear an echo and I think,
Craig, I just moved into a new house and all I have
Congratulations.
Is a plant. So I need to get more stuff in here so that I'm not in like a prison cell, but we've upgraded from the apartment for sure.
Okay, congratulations. So, I'm going to jump to we got the block punt. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Brian Flores' defense. So he's a stud. I was worried. I've said this many times that he would only be here a couple of years and then get a head coaching job. Now I'm no longer worried about that. I'm saying, he's going to be here a while. And I just think he's amazing. We gave up 399 yards. It's the old bend, don't break. But we had 6 sacks. You could say 2 interceptions, but they call the other one a fumble recovery, the one where it kind of flew out of Purdy's hands.
Yeah.
And I've always loved a strong defense. Defense wins championships. But it's really fun to watch these guys because Purdy is mobile and Shanahan, I mean, the 4th down play at the goal line, they could have run it in. Mm-hmm. But they decided to pass, and Van Ginkel got his hand on it, and then Harrison Smith was right there. I think they blew it by not trying to run it in.
Which is a 49ers identity in and of itself, right? Like they want to run the ball. So to force them not to do that, I texted our friend Phil Mackey one text during the game, and I said, Brian Flores' lawsuit is like low-key one of the best things that's ever happened to the Vikings because that's a head coach. Like he should be a head coach again, but he's probably not going to get another chance. Yeah. So he might just be the defensive coordinator as long as KOC is here. And that's a great point you bring up. They gave up 400 yards. You would think like, that's terrible. It was bend, don't break when it really mattered. They got stops. And it was cool. I'm sure you saw this at the end when they were doing handshakes and stuff. Purdy goes up to Flores and says, like, that's the craziest scheme I've ever played against.
Yeah.
So Flores is cooking, KOC is cooking. When your coaching staff is aligned like that, it's how you can win without your QB1, your wide receiver 1, your tight end 1. It's a real football team now in Minnesota.
Yeah, and I'm going to repeat the three things going into the season that I worried about. Offensive line always, even though we have a strong offensive line, and now I'm not that worried except for a couple, some Bradbury gets overwhelmed sometimes at center. Ingram bothers me sometimes. But we have a strong offensive line. I used to worry about the kicker. I don't anymore. And the third one I used to worry about, and I'm not right now, is the play calling of KOC. He's a stud, but sometimes would get cutesy. Haven't seen the cutesy. You saw the Ty Chandler was going to pass, and then the tight end got locked up there. That's when we ended up getting a field goal only. But, this team, are we overreacting after 2 games? We're just kind of exhaling that. We know we have talent. We have great coaches. And if there's not a dominant team out there, we're going to be okay, barring injuries.
I think the play that really highlighted it to me was it's 10-7 late in the first half, and Bosa gets a sack on Darnold. It's like 3rd and 13 now. There's like under 2 minutes, like maybe under a minute left. So that's when Craig, you watch other football teams too, and they get really conservative. Like maybe they'll just run, try to force the team to take a timeout. It's 3rd and 13, and Darnold just has a strike to Justin Jefferson. First down, clock's running. And then Darnold comes back up, I think it's 2nd down, and runs for like 19 yards. He could have ran for another 8, 9, 10 yards, but he just immediately slides down with no one around him because he knows the clock in his head. And he goes, we have 3 seconds left to call a timeout and get a field goal. Those 3 extra points really mattered. So to have a quarterback, and again, this is nothing against Kirk Cousins or any of that stuff, but to have a quarterback that, on the first drive, Sam used his legs to extend the drive. They can get out a little bit and run, but then isn't afraid to make those big, long throws when they need them. That's the type of stuff that, we didn't know if KOC was going to let Sam off the leash a little bit this season, and he's already shown in 2 games that, hey, this is a big spot, Sam. You have to make a big throw, and he trusts them. So that's the type of answers we were wondering about in August, and so far they've answered them pretty well.
If KOC is going to allow Nick Mullins to throw 4 interceptions, he's going to let Sam
Darnold if he's going to let Josh Dobbs run around, he's going to let Sam sling it.
But, and again, you said something which I was going to mention, not to pile up on Kirk, but I just always was frustrated with his lack of mobility. Relatively quick guy, but didn't look quick in the pocket, didn't move around. And I would see other guys, like I've always been a fan of Derek Carr. Jimmy Garoppolo moves better than Kirk. So I saw highlights of Sam Darnold. I go, well, he moves better than Kirk. And he's got some speed. He's not going to run too much, but man, he can. So the big story is we're all pulling for Sam Darnold. Let me ask you a question. Turnovers obviously bother us. As a perfectionist, it bothers me more. You probably say it's part of the game. I say it's the end of the world. No, I'm kidding. But I'm going to have Phil and Judd Zolgad on. I have to check their schedule. I haven't even bothered them. I don't know how busy they are, but it's going to be after a big win. But Judd, the sports dad, posted he did a tweet yesterday during the game, throughout the game, he tweeted. But after the interception by Sam Darnold, as we're marching, and Fred Warner makes the interception, he tweets that Sam can throw deep and he can do the checkdowns, but the Kirk Cousins special, the intermediate, is where he gets into trouble. He doesn't see the defenders. And then he said, huge shift here at U.S. Bank. And we're all trying to discover Sam Darnold, and we know he's had a rough going in the NFL. He has talent. He throws picks. When I read that, I'm going to ask you, is that conjecture by Judd? Oh, he doesn't see the defenders. Or is it fixable? I mean, they asked Sam after the game. He said, I have to be a little safer with the ball there. Did he not see him? Because I didn't think it was like, maybe I'm wrong. You said it was a great play by Fred Warner, but I thought it was like kind of didn't you see him? Maybe he thinks a lot of the defenders aren't that quick, so he could just throw it by him. But what were your thoughts on that interception. And what do you think about what Judd said, that maybe this is not his strength?
To Judd's credit, he's been pointing this out now, that it's kind of a blind spot for Sam on these intermediate routes, these kind of crossing routes. I thought Fred Warner made a good play, but also Fred Warner is that dude on that defense. And like, you kind of always need to know where he is, right? Like, you know, if you're attacking the Timberwolves offense, you kind of always know where Rudy Gobert is. Like, you need to know where Fred Warner is.
Yeah.
And that's, whether you saw him or not, you also kind of need to know the time and place.
Yeah.
You probably don't need to always make those big throws that I referenced late in the fourth quarter or at the end of the first half in a spot like that. Just take something easier, because he was trying to thread it between three guys.
I know.
So, I mean, those are the type of things. But I also, you know, KOC at this point, I don't really know what you have questions about. I mean, because he's answering the play calling stuff now.
Yeah.
So you would just hope that he can coach that out of him. But I think it's when the Vikings are even or win the turnover battle, like, they're pretty much winning at like a 95% clip under KOC. So you got to coach that out of them, because that was a big turnover in a big spot. The Aaron Jones fumble was, I don't know, that was a backbreaker, I thought, in the moment, but you can probably clean that up. But yeah, Sam, I mean, that's why Sam's available, right, for $10 million, is there's probably deficiencies in his game, but you would hope that KOC can coach it out of him. I mean, that we've gotten 20 minutes, Craig, and we haven't talked about the 97-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson.
It's coming up. That's for the kids. That's for the young people. We're getting into the weeds here. No, you kept saying coach it out of him. I hope you're right, because when I played ball, I had court vision you can't teach. It was Leo Routens, Larry Bird, Arvidas, and myself. We all saw things, and I don't know if that's something with these NFL quarterbacks who struggle, is you can teach them to see and anticipate this stuff. I hope you're right that they can coach it out of them. But, I mean, I did see the Purple Daily after the game, where at the beginning, where Phil Mackey said, which is what I said during the game, my favorite pass and play was the Jalen Naylor on the final drive, the 3rd and 8, where he just whipped it down there, threw it behind him to get away from the defenders. Naylor made the adjustment. That was so he was not hesitant at all, Sam Darnold. It looks like he's going to sling it no matter what. And I do like, because I'm nitpicking, but that drive at the end to get the field goal was tremendous.
And they just leaned on him with the running attack. I mean,
three third downs.
You know, we should probably bring this up too. But like you said, Jalen Naylor, Sam Darnold's doing in that last drive to Johnny Mund, Trent Sherfield, Jalen Naylor, a lot of guys that we probably weren't banking on a month ago.
At least you know their names. I don't.
So, I mean, for them to be, you know, racking up these wins, and you got Hawkinson waiting in the wings, and you got Addison maybe coming back, and Justin Jefferson sounds like it was just, a banged up hip, and he'll be fine.
He's fine.
So for Sam to be doing this in general is one thing, but for him to be making those throws and extending long drives, I mean, that's a game-winning drive that the Vikings had late in the fourth that you would see the 49ers or a lot of other good teams do to Minnesota in the past. So that was he's answered, I think, most of the questions so far, but I'm sure, like any good coach, Craig, KOC's excited that there's still things, meat on the bone, as we say, that he can coach out of Sam and the team, because if they don't turn the ball over, it's really hard to beat this team.
Yes. I like Aaron Jones. He had a rough, not a great game yesterday. The fumble bothered me, although that was the Fred Warner punch out. It's really hard. He's punches it out when he tackles. It's hard to do that. But man, was Ty Chandler unreal yesterday. So he's exciting because he's so explosive and fast. 82 yards, 10 carries. And by the way, my big thing with KOC is the marriage of the run and pass. You got to run it. It takes the soul out of the other team when you run it down their throats. That was tremendous.
Yeah, we kind of forget about Ty Chandler. I mean, I did at least. Like, the Aaron Jones signing is great. You get a former Packer onto your side now. But Ty Chandler has a little burst to him that I just don't think Aaron Jones does. I mean, Ty Chandler's younger, but he just kind of looked like he was shot out of a cannon. And again, KOC said all summer, all training camp, that they do want, and you're seeing this in the league too, Craig. Teams are starting to, that's such a spread open offense with the passing games and all the space, that sometimes the best thing to do is just run. I know establish the run used to be made fun of, but now it's like that's the best way to win ball games. Like passing scores touchdowns, but running games kind of win football games. So they really leaned on a two-headed monster yesterday. And again, the offensive line, I'm with you. I had questions about, maybe a guard spot or a center. That whole offensive line has really looked strong and protected Sam, but also opened up a lot of holes for Ty Chandler and Aaron Jones.
Are we better than the Chicago Bears? My neighbor's a Bears fan. Come
Craig,
on.
you and I are like offensive linemen for the Bears. Like that, I actually was sick last night watching Caleb Williams. I was like, please don't die on my screen.
I know.
Because he was just getting murdered.
I watched like most of the second half. I like Caleb Williams because I just like his presence and I like how he moves in the pocket. He seems like a veteran, but I know he's going to have a better second year than the first year.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't tell about his passing yet. How good is he? Is he going to be really, really good?
I still think he's going to be really, really good. I mean, J.J. McCarthy has as many touchdown passes as him and Jaden Daniels, so I think J.J. is going to be fine too. But Caleb, just if you don't have a good offensive line, and that's what Washington struggles with, what Chicago struggles with, you're putting your guy out there to just get slaughtered. I mean, that's kind of why Drake May's not playing for the Patriots, is they acknowledged we can't protect him. So for McCarthy, I know that injury was such a bummer, and you and I were just heartbroken when the news came out, but for that kid to be able to learn on the sidelines, still meet with KOC every week, and then for this offensive line to get another year of kind of continuity, you would hope, though, in McCarthy, because he is the franchise still. I mean, I was going to ask you, if this Vikings thing, if you and I are talking in December and they're 11-6 or 12-5 and they win a playoff game, is it still JJ McCarthy QB1 for you, or are you going to be like, well, what would Sam take in a contract extension?
Great question. I think you can franchise tag him.
Sam Darnold. Yep.
Yeah. I would do that if he had a really good year.
Okay.
Because we're all excited about JJ.
Mm-hmm.
We assume he's durable. We don't know. But it's a great problem to have. I would bring them both back. I mean, obviously bring back JJ. But yeah, I am so pulling for Sam. And I think Kevin O'Connell is, I assume you saw the presser where he got a little emotional.
Yeah.
A little like, we're so proud of this guy because it's so tough. I think he was remembering how he didn't make it in the NFL. It's so tough to play quarterback in the NFL, and Sam is doing it. But that is a great story. And Sam, I don't know what you think of it. He's being very, very measured and low key in the press conferences where he just says just one play at a time, just keep grinding, learn from the mistakes. He doesn't say too much, does he?
No, and when I watch Sam talk and I'm a football diehard, so thinking of Sam's path from the Jets to the 49ers to here, I still am a basketball guy at heart. So I think about in the NBA, to me, the number one thing in a draft is where you go. Like, these players don't have the ability to really choose unless like the Eli Manning situations of the world, but it's important that you land in a good spot. And I think for Sam, he knows with his time at the Jets, like that was a bad spot. And then it flipped going to 49ers. No pressure on him because he's not the guy and Brock Purdy's the guy, but he probably recognizes that, when he is, because he's looking at generational wealth, Craig, if he keeps playing like this next year to get kind of that Baker Mayfield type contract. But do you want to go play for, the Detroit Pistons of the world? Do you want to go play for a really bad team? Or do you know what it's like to work in a toxic work environment, and do you want to stay? So I think he's been humbled in he's still young. He's still in his 20s. Like, he's been humbled by his NFL career so far, and he knows that KOC is kind of a quarterback magician. I mean, he won games last year with quarterbacks that are out of the league right now or are deep backups. So it's a renaissance for Sam Darnold, and I'm with you. I'm cheering for him about as hard as I ever have for a Vikings player.
You can have players move around and get in the right situation and screw up. And I'm just doing this so I can say D-Lo. I just wanted to say D-Lo. Sorry. Spit take. But anyways, I wonder how long he'll last with the Lakers. Before we talk a little Wolves pride, because I have questions for you. What do you think the Vikings record is going to be? I mean, I keep saying, are we overreacting? I think for the people who aren't Vikings fans, the Vikings are the greatest team to never win a Super Bowl, greatest franchise. We've always been good. we have talent, like I said. They added a bunch of defensive players. Van Ginkel. I just hope nobody pulls their Van Ginkel during the game. But he almost did it again, man. It's so much fun to watch the defense. It really is. But what do you think the record for the Vikes is going to be? Because I wanted 8-9. Now, of course, I'll take 10-7. I mean, I want to be realistic.
Well, I'm with you on the schedule stuff. My favorite thing to do is like predict the schedule before the season starts and then do it again 2 weeks after. But I mean, some of these games all of a sudden, like at Green Bay in week 4, if there's no Jordan Love, I mean, Malik Willis versus Brian Flores is going to be a tough hang for Green Bay, and the Jets look kind of banged up, and the Rams are all broken, and the Colts. I mean, you kind of look at that schedule now, and they have a week 6 bye after the London game. So I think at this point you kind of got to be realistic, but also look around your opponents, and why can't this team win the North? The Lions to me are still the class of it, but with what Jordan Love's got going on, and then a Bears team that just is probably a year away, there's no reason that this team can't at least compete for the North. But right now, I would honestly say after 2 weeks, very hot take, if they don't make a wild card spot, that's probably a disappointment because they have all the pieces and some pieces that are still coming in a couple weeks, like Hawkinson.
Do you ever look at a big picture where you say, like yesterday, I've seen it when we've had down years, win at home because of US Bank Stadium. And do you ever say, great win, and then you say, I don't know if we can win a playoff game at San Francisco? You ever say that?
Yeah, the Sam Darnold on the road playoff game, or the Sam Darnold playoff game in general, is going to hit a little different than week 2 at home. I still have questions about that. I'm sure internally the team has questions about that because you've never really seen them do it. But I just, and you played college ball. Confidence is
sure did. Montana State, the basketball power. When you go into Missoula against the Montana Grizzlies,
exactly,
it's high stress.
I just think confidence is a topic we don't talk enough about in sports because you don't always, it's not listed on Basketball Reference. You can't find it in analytics. But if Sam Darnold is confident and he's also got the coaching staff behind him that, as you said earlier at the top, is willing to let him off the leash a little bit, I mean, there's just, I don't know. You look around the league and there's not a lot of great quarterbacks all of a sudden, or guys are hurt. And I think if Sam gets a couple more months of playing high-level football, I mean, you got to kind of go back to, he was drafted high for a reason, right? Like he has a lot of the intangibles. So it's just a really great victory Monday for the Vikings. And now you kind of reshuffle the deck and look at their schedule again. And it's like, they should be, the Texans are maybe the toughest team on their schedule, but they're going to be favored now in a lot of these matchups. And in US Bank Stadium is a tough place to play.
Yeah. Well, the thing that bothers me about the schedule, and this happened with Zim, was I always look at road games out of the division for the schedule, and we always had to fly to Seattle with Zim, which is we never win there. And now we have to do it again this year. It's very irritating. Let me go back to the question I asked you, the playoff. So I think the attitude should be, if we're jumping ahead, can we win a playoff game at San Francisco? The attitude is it's not a series. It's one game. Anything can happen. And if we do the intangibles on the road, meaning block punts, fumble recoveries, interceptions, I don't want to put too much pressure on Sam. I want Sam to be solid, not spectacular, solid. Good play calling by KOC on the playoff game, run it some more, So you can definitely win those games, but everything's got to kind of fall into place, if that makes sense.
Yet, I mean, that's kind of the great thing is, right? Like, this isn't like a Buffalo Bills situation where you need your quarterback to just be supernova.
Yeah.
You just need him to not turn the ball over, make 3 or 4 plays that get talked about the next morning on a podcast, and just kind of be a good teammate. And that's what Sam did yesterday. I mean, he made a couple big throws. But other than that, he kind of got the guys in the right positions. And that's the type of formula, again, back to the identity thing. That's how you win on the road is don't turn the ball over, make a couple big throws, and rely on guys like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, all these. The Vikings have so much talent, Craig, on offense that let them go do stuff, and Sam just kind of, monitors the situation and makes the play when he needs to.
Okay, before we shift to the Timberwolves, let's talk about it. It was 2nd and 9 from the 3-yard line, and KOC draws up a bomb to Justin Jefferson. What were the emotions of young Kyle Theige as he dropped back and lofted it to midfield and beyond?
Well, he does. Judd mentioned this on Purple Daily. He kind of crow hops twice, so he kind of looked like an outfielder, and then he just let it rip. Especially, I mean, a 2nd and 9, like you said, with Bosa just coming down the tunnel.
Yeah.
And for him to hit Justin Jefferson, the first thing that stood out in the moment was, okay, that's a great play to get off your own goal line. But I don't know if you saw this, Craig. The official was just as athletic as Justin Jefferson. He was getting out of the way, and I think Justin Jefferson.
The Carolina Panthers apparently just signed him.
Yes, it's a low blow to a very tough Panthers franchise right now. But I mean, Jefferson then that's again to the playoff scenario. Just get your best players the football, and Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league, and he just did the rest. I mean, he ran 123 yards, I think, total to the left sideline, and then cut back, and then Nailor's coming through to block for him. And you don't see that anymore in the NFL. Like big plays with how high they play safeties now.
Yeah,
you don't really get big plays, and for Sam to just. That's all Justin wants, right? JJ just wants you to trust him, even if he's double teamed. He's always open, and he made that throw, and that was kind of a backbreaker. I know it was earlier in the game, but to get the stop that you referenced earlier on that 4th down, and then to turn it into points like that's an element that I don't think the Vikings have had in a really long time.
Love that KOC called it because last week in New York, I loved the screen pass to 2nd and 8 to Ty Chandler to get the first down. I was like, great, get out of there. But so I like them both. I like both play calls. Okay, Timberwolves pride. Here we go. Just a little bit here, just to whet the appetite. October 22nd, the NBA opening night, 2 games, only 2 games. Knicks at the Celtics. Your Timberwolves, my Timberwolves at the Lakers. I believe I will be at that game with very good seats is what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing right now from some people. That Thursday, the Vikings will be at SoFi Stadium against the Rams. Thursday night football.
Okay, so Dane Moore and I will also be at, what is it, Crypto now for that opening night game?
Yes.
Probably not as good as seats as yours, but we'll connect. I did not know the Vikings were in town.
I know.
So awesome. That's a big week. But yeah, and Vikings Rams, I mean, at this point with what the Rams have going on, they're pretty banged up. That's probably a game the Vikings will be favored in, even on a short week.
I don't know because it's the road team usually loses Thursday night games.
That's true. Yeah. And we'll see what happens with Puka Nacua, and I know Cooper Kupp's banged up, but I'm just glad we got 30 minutes in and good Viking stock. Craig, I am so hyped for the Wolves season. I don't know where you're at right now.
Tell me why. Tell me why, because I have one huge. What's your biggest question mark? I have one huge question mark.
Oh, my biggest question mark, or my biggest kind of concept or narrative is expectations. Is how does this team manage them? They're coming off the best year they've had in 20 years, and go back and look at totally different teams, eras, presidents, whatever. But when the Wolves made the Western Conference Finals under KG, I think the next season they were like 44-38. Like they really kind of cratered.
Yeah.
They had a lot of people that were focused on
money,
other things. Last year, the Wolves, everyone got paid. So then they played a season of basketball that all it was basketball. Well, this year, if you look ahead to next summer, Rudy Gobert has a player option. Naz Reid has a player option. Nikhil's a free agent. Tim Connolly has a player option, essentially. So are they going to be focused solely on basketball? And also, too, they're not coming in anymore to LA or Golden State or whatever. It's like, oh, that's just the Timberwolves. Like, they have a target on their back every night. And I wonder how they will handle that now that they're not the hunters. They're kind of the hunted.
You don't replace a slow-mo. You just bring
I knew
in Joe Ingles.
I knew you were bummed about him. Yep.
I like slow-mo. Isn't it weird how he plays the best defense against Luka?
Yep.
And Cat plays the best defense against the Joker. It's like so weird. But no, my big question mark is not to put too much pressure on the rookie, but that's what life is, and the NBA is pressure. How good is Rob Dillingham? I just don't know. I don't think any of us know at this point, correct?
Correct. Yeah, and What's his role going to be? I think he's going to be shoehorned in night one in LA as the backup to Mike. Mike's coming off, I think Mike Conley played 76 games last year, which is the most he's played in almost a decade. That's great, but I continue to think that that's not good, like long term. You saw Mike kind of break down in late April, May, as they started playing almost 100 games. So I want Mike fresh for April and May, which means you got to have someone behind him. And that's a lot to ask of a, I think, 19-year-old rookie in Rob Dillingham. But
Yeah.
I think he had enough flashes in Summer League. You hear he's at the gym all the time, working out with Jaden and Nas and Ant. So you would hope that they give him a leash too, kind of like the Sam Darnold stuff, Craig. I hope Finch gives him enough of a leash that on nights where he's 1 for 8, let him play through it a little bit, because to me, this isn't about the regular season anymore. You're a contender. It's how are you playing basketball when you get to April and early May?
2 final comments I want you to react to. One is controversial. I'll start with the controversial one. Boston Celtics won the championship. Didn't really get tested in the Eastern Conference. They had the best record in the NBA. The Timberwolves won Game 7 at Denver. I find that more impressive than the Celtics winning the championship. How do you win Game 7 down 20? What do you think of that comment that I think it's more impressive? Am I being silly?
I don't think you're being silly. I was talking to Dane about this, but Game 7 ends and the Wolves win and it's crazy. And then it was like a day later or 2 days later, it's like, then it's Game 1 against the Mavs, right? It just moves so quickly. If we would have had a week off to just enjoy it, that was, and you're a historian on there, like Game 7 beating the Nuggets after being down 20, that was the greatest Timberwolves moment of my life.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, what they did and who they did it against, the defending champions, was so impressive. Yeah, I mean, I thought the Celtics kind of never got tested. The Mavs deserved to beat the Wolves because the Wolves just kind of fell all over themselves in that series with too many late game mistakes. But I think the Wolves would have given the Celtics a better challenge in the finals because they matched up better. But again, they didn't deserve to be there. So, but I'm with you. That Game 7, I just got some new TVs installed, and they're like, hey, can you just check to see what you think of the picture? And I was like, let me just go to YouTube and watch Game 7 highlights. So that's how I got to make sure my TVs worked. But that was the best moment of my Timberwolves fandom, and I'm as old as the team is. So that was an awesome game.
How old were you when KG won the championship with the Celtics? Were you?
I was in my 20s, and that definitely hurt. Definitely hurt.
Why did it hurt? I was happy for KG. When KG beat the Lakers and got his championship?
Look, Kevin Garnett is still, after all these years, my favorite athlete of all time. But it just, it hurt. I know he shouted out Minnesota and stuff, but it still hurts to see the people you love, the people that you think of as a neighbor or whatever, are off in a bigger city doing it and winning it for them. Yeah. So I wanted KG to hang a banner at Target Center. It didn't happen. So that's why I was sad.
Oh, well, I had this new big screen television, like back in whatever year that was. I can't remember what year it was, but 2007 or around there. Mm-hmm. But I had this 45-inch Zenith or something, and people would come to my house, and sometimes a lot of LA people, and I'd say, hey, they'd say, nice big screen. I said, yo, you want to see it? And I always had it queued up to this game. The game, I guess they won in 6 games, right? Against the Celtics.
Yep.
So they went at home, but there was a play where they were Ray Allen hits a 3 and the crowd's going crazy. And then the Lakers turn it over. And then there's a pick and roll with Paul Pierce, and they bounce it to KG in the lane, and he clutches on Lamar Odom, and he's fouled and makes it. And then the place just erupts. So this is what I would show them, the people who wanted to see my big screen. They were Laker fans. I had it queued up to KG, and they go up 28 or whatever the hell they went up. It's so funny. So I had the comment about the Timberwolves winning Game 7. Here's my other comment. I want you to. I'm going to have Finchy on before the season.
Nice. Okay.
Now I see things, and I'm really into, Terrence Shannon Jr. has a very low release.
Yep.
Sean Marion, he's left-handed though. You seen Ant's jump shot? Is it just me, or is he changed it a little bit for the better. Did you notice that? He's not
so-
pulling it as far back. He's shooting it. Kevin Durant, baby. Have you seen his? I'm saying he's changed his jump shot. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't think I am.
I am so glad you brought this up. You're the first person to, I think, publicly
I see the
bring it up.
floor. I see the floor.
All credit to Craig. I do think his jump shot is tweaked a little bit, and tweaked actually probably is a bad word. Refined is a better word, but he used to have it a little bit slingshotty.
Yes.
The ball was over his head, and
Yes.
it's a little more in front of him now.
Yes.
And you can hypothesize any way you want, but he just spent 2 months hanging out with maybe some of the best shooters of all time, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant.
Set shot Curry.
I will continue to bring this up and credit you. I do think his shot is a little different. And by the way, his shot is 100% different than it was when he came out of Georgia. So he continues to work on it. But that's like the next evolution where if he is even better from three, I mean, I tell this to my friends all the time. What is his ceiling? Like, why would he not be? I mean, if he adds a little more playmaking, right? But if he took another level up, if we do a pod 3 months from now, why is he not a top 5 player in the league? And if he's a top 5 player in the league, the Wolves are probably a top 3 team in the NBA. So great find by you. I know you are a shot mechanics doctor, and I think his shot looks the best it's ever looked because it did look a little uncomfortable in his second and third year.
Yeah. I used to call Glenn Taylor every summer and say, I'll work with Ricky. I'll help Ricky. But they didn't take my call. Oh, that was fun, brother.
Appreciate you, sir.
We'll talk again soon. I'll see you October 22nd at the season opener.
At the Crypt.
Who pays for that? Is that the Dane Moore podcast?
Shout out to my boss, Dane Moore. He'll be putting us up, and we're gonna hit you up and see if you want to hang out. So yeah,
So I'll visit you guys in East LA or Compton, wherever you guys are staying. You get a deal over there.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a good time. In 2 weeks from today, we're gonna hear from him, media day, and then a couple days after that, we have a preseason game to see your biggest question: what does Rob Dillingham look like around actual NBA talent and the guys he's gonna be playing with? So it's gonna be fun.
Thank you, sir. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you next time. Vikings win. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.
I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.